Welcome back to another video, everybody. We have a lot to discuss in this one. We have had a lot of very important news being released over the last 18 hours or so here, and the markets have been all over the place. In this video here, we're going to be breaking down kind of everything that's happened, why the markets are reacting the way that they are, what we could see moving forward, and again, obviously providing some commentary and providing some analysis on the most up-to-date news and technical analysis on the charts of some of your favorite names here. So before we get into all of that information, if you guys do enjoy the information and analysis I provide for you guys in these videos here, make sure you go down and hit that like button. Costs you nothing to do it, but it helps me out a whole lot in spreading this information out to as many people who actually want to learn. And again, make sure you guys are subscribed and turn on notifications so you're notified every time these videos do end up getting posted live. And as always, massive shout out to one of my students here in the Less Trades More Profits trading and investing community, making well over 2,000% on the ELF trade idea that I outlined for the group a couple of weeks ago. Guys, again, this is exactly why I started the group here, to show you guys how to really make these life-changing gains in the market. If you guys are interested in hopping in there, again, I am running the best sale that I will ever offer. It is 50% off, not just your first month, but first 2 months with code May with that link down below. Again, guys, it only comes out to $1 a day. If you guys are interested in that, we'd love to have you in there. But let's get into it here. The first big piece of news here, kind of after we saw Nvidia report earnings and the overall market react positively, was a federal court blocking Trump from imposing sweeping tariffs under emergency powers law. Now, this also sent markets rocketing even higher here, as again, the market has been very worried about the potential for a growth slowdown and even inflation to start moving back to the upside here as a result of this new trade policy, potentially leading to stagflation. Now, at this current time, the Trump administration does have a couple of options here on how to proceed with the tariffs that they see fit. The Wall Street Bank, again, this is from Goldman Sachs here as well, said the ruling blocks the 10% baseline tariff imposed by Trump on most imports, as well as the additional duties on China, Canada, and Mexico. The Trump administration, nevertheless, has other legal means of imposing tariffs, Goldman says, flagging Section 122 of U.S. trade law, Section 203, and Section 330 of the Trade Act of 1930 here. So Section 122 does not require a formal investigation basically into these other countries here to make sure that they are actually violating some of the policies that the U.S. has outlined here. And then again here, Section 232, which are already in place for steel, aluminum, and auto imports, could also be brought into other sectors. This trade law allows the president to take action against threats to national security. In Section 338, meanwhile, allows the president to impose levies of up to 50% on imports from other countries that discriminate against the U.S. Goldman noted that this particular measure has not been used before. Now, the White House then came out and said that the Supreme Court must put an end to this, but this also brings up a very important question that probably is not going to be answered for the next couple of weeks and potentially months here, and that is, what is the Federal Reserve going to do now? Ever since we received the December FOMC meeting minutes that came out in January, what the Federal Reserve has been very, and I would say overly worried about over the last couple of months here, is the potential for inflation to start moving back to the upside as these tariffs get put into place. Now, we have not seen this. I showed you guys in yesterday's video that CPI was moving to the downside on that nice downtrend. We have seen growth slow a little bit and unemployment slowly ticking to the upside, but really just staying in that 4.1% to 4.2% range. So if this is going to stick and we aren't going to see the elevated levels of tariffs that the market was starting to get used to over the last couple of weeks, well, what does the Federal Reserve do now? And this is where we get into a very important meeting today. Statement on Chair Powell's meeting with the president. At the president's invitation, Chair Powell met with the president today at the White House to discuss economic developments, including for growth, employment, and inflation. Chair Powell did not discuss his expectations for monetary policy, except to stress that the path of policy will depend entirely on incoming economic information and what that means for the outlook. Finally, Chair Powell said that he and his colleagues on the FOMC will set monetary policy as required by law to support maximum employment and stable prices, again, kind of going along with that Fed's dual mandate here. But what we're seeing across the board here is just kind of the market and a lot of these very important market participants, specifically Jerome Powell here, starting to get a little bit tired of this overall flip-flopping nature of this new trade policy. What we've seen over the last couple of weeks here is the market has started to get used to the way that things are now. We're seeing these new tariffs being put into place, most likely being used as a negotiating tactic, and then the market starts to rally off of positive developments in these trade talks. But now this throws another wild card into the arena here, and after some of that new information today, you would have actually expected to see some of these rate expectations going into the end of this year start to actually move up here, and that's not necessarily what we're seeing. When we look at some of these rate expectations going into the end of the year, we can see that the overwhelming expectation right now is that we are still going to be getting two rate cuts of 25 basis points each, but really from a week ago, these projections have not changed here. So the market really has not had enough time to digest this new information here. And then when you combine that again with some of the data that we saw today, with consumer spending actually starting to slow down a little bit, again, it's not actually decreasing, but it is just increasing at a slower rate than the market was expecting. That could be a sign of things to come here. Remember, consumer sentiment is incredibly low right now. And in addition, we also saw the first Q1 GDP revision today that did show us that it was revised a little bit to the upside. That first reading there was negative 0.3%. We did come in at this first revision at negative 0.2 here. So still declining GDP, really based on all of these corporations here importing a significant amount of goods to get ahead of these tariffs here. And when looking at the broad market, as of right now, there's about an hour and a half until market closes. This is not a bullish candle on the futures chart right now. Again, we saw Nvidia report earnings. We saw also that federal court blocking these sweeping Trump tariffs. We saw a significant rally to the upside, and investors and market participants as a whole have aggressively sold into that move to the upside that we saw in the evening yesterday, which could set the stage for a short-term pullback in this market. So now let's get into a couple of these individual names that we talk about a lot on this channel, and some of them that you guys are very heavily invested in. The first one that we're going to be talking about here is Palantir. So again, we are still seeing that nice period of consolidation right near those prior all-time highs here. Again, depending on what happens with the broad market, we easily could see Palantir start to break above a couple of these levels, this 128 area, and start to push through into this 130 and 140 area, especially, again, after some of the very positive news that we have seen this week come out for Palantir here. Fannie Mae launches AI fraud detection technology partnership with Palantir. And again, in addition, we saw Bain & Company forming a global partnership with Palantir to deliver high-impact end-to-end AI transformations for clients. Again, Palantir has been a name recently that has been able to hold up a little bit better and rally a little bit more than the overall market here. But again, this one is at a very stretched valuation in the present, so I would not be surprised if we saw a decently sized pullback here to 110, maybe even 105, if we are going to see the overall market start to pull back as this uncertainty level just across the board in the market starts to move to the upside. Now, again, talking about AMD here as well, another one of your guys' favorites, and again, one of my favorites as well. I own this one at $11.39. I know I look young. I'm 26. My birthday was actually this week, but I've been learning about markets, trading and investing from some of the most successful financial professionals in the world since I was 14 years old here. So I've been doing this for a very, very long time at this point. And AMD has been one of my best investments, and we are actually seeing, if we can hold this daily 10 exponential moving average here, a potential really bullish setup heading into the summer months here. Again, depending on if this overall market wants to hold up. Now, again, we have that buyback coming in with AMD right now. We have the selling of the manufacturing side of ZT Systems, which AMD had recently acquired, the big partnership with Humane, and also we just received some news yesterday that AMD acquires Silicon Photonics startup and Semi in AI systems push. In another move to ramp up competition against Nvidia, AMD says it has acquired Semi to develop photonics and co-packaged optic solutions solutions that can help the chip designer enable faster, more efficient data movement that is required by ever-growing AI models. Again, yet another positive step forward for AMD to be more competitive in the chip, semiconductor, and AI kind of overall environment here as a whole. Now, the next name that we need to discuss here is going to be Tesla before we wrap it up with NIO here and HIMS as well. So thinking about Tesla here, again, we did see that really nice breakout to the upside here when we came into Tuesday, but it doesn't look like Tesla wants to follow through in the short term here. But what we could end up seeing happen is, again, forming yet another period of consolidation after a nice move to the upside here in this level here, right around 367.50 to 378 here. Again, has been a point not just during market hours that Tesla has tried to get over here, but also during these after hour sessions as well here. So if we are able to consolidate in this area here, again, if the overall market is able to hold up and we do see that push to the upside above this level, we could see a very quick move on Tesla to the 380 area. And if the market kind of shakes off all of this new uncertainty that we're seeing, we easily could see Tesla over 400 in the summertime. And again, we are seeing some new positive developments here on the robo-taxi side. Tesla's robo-taxi service is coming to Austin on June 12th. And in addition to this, we also have something that Tesla investors and kind of supporters of Elon Musk from a business standpoint have been looking for some time here. Elon Musk leaving the Trump administration, capping turbulent tenure. Now, again, we did see when this was announced, I believe it was last month, or really, should I say, reiterated, this was already known by the market here. We knew that Elon's time was coming up at the end of May. So this is not new information, but it is good to see that this kind of partnership between Elon and the Trump administration for Tesla investors, Elon Musk supporters from a business standpoint, that partnership has not been extended, and Elon is going to have a lot more time to spend on all of his business ventures, which is something that investors have been looking for in 2025 so far. Now, next up on the list, we're going to be talking very briefly about NIO as we get into their earnings week next week. NIO is set to report earnings on Tuesday, June 3rd here. And what I will say right now about this chart is that even though we are kind of getting towards the bottom side of this range of support that we have bounced out of many times, this is not a bullish setup on NIO right now. It's actually quite a bearish chart setup that we are looking at on this name right now. And again, like I say time and time again with NIO here, on the occasions that we do talk about this one, it's all going to come down to execution in the year 2025 and 2026. There's been a lot of overpromising and under-delivering with this name over the last few years here, and management really needs to step up, start meeting these goals here. And again, when we take a look at some of these delivery estimates here, China May electric vehicle sales preview, Deutsche Bank expects NIO at 27,000, Tesla at 39,000, BYD at 390,000. That 27,000 delivery number for NIO here is not going to help them meet expectations. These numbers need to be a lot higher in order for NIO to actually meet those profitability goals that they have outlined this year, kind of in Q4 and potentially going into the first couple quarters of 2026 here. But again, we have seen a solid trend back to the upside on NIO here recently. I believe it was in April here. They saw their second highest delivery numbers ever, which again, very, very good sign, but they really need to step it up even further and make sure that those sub-brands, Onvo and Firefly, are really getting out to the market, starting to make sales and make that sales process very, very efficient, not only for the business, but also for the consumers of their product. Now, the last one that I want to talk about here, guys, is HIMS. Now, this is one, again, I think all of you guys kind of understand the most relevant pieces of news with HIMS recently, especially with all of these, or this new partnership with Novo Nordisk, these new developments in terms of the pricing and the discounts with Wegovy, all positive developments for HIMS going over the next couple of months here. But something that we've talked a lot about on this channel with HIMS is the fact that up in these areas here, right around 50 going into the 60 area, in my opinion, this is not the time to be buying this name. And with the chart setup that we're seeing right now, another very, very bearish chart setup that you want to be careful of in the short term here. This was one that I was outlining for the private trading and investing community, less trades, more profits, at right around this $30 to $31 area here. So again, if I like a stock at 30 to 31 and it runs into the 50s and people are asking me, do you like the stock up there? Well, I like it a lot better at the levels that I was telling everybody in the group about it at. And again, you got to be careful, especially in this market, especially if you are new, chasing these names higher, especially ones that come with a lot of volatility. Now, again, this is not to say that HIMS is going to be a loser over the long run, but you have to make sure that you are buying at the right times and right places, not only on the chart, but also incorporating those other kind of elements of the analysis that I teach all the time, those 3 key pillars, the overall macro picture, the fundamentals, and also the chart. So guys, that is going to wrap up this video here. If you guys did enjoy the information and analysis that I provided for you guys in this one, make sure you go down and hit that like button. Costs you nothing to do it, but helps me out a whole lot in spreading this information out to as many people who actually want to learn. If you never want to miss another video like this, make sure you're subscribed, turn on notifications so you're notified every time these videos go live. But until next time, guys, I will see you. Peace.